This channel is not just about stories. It's about hidden codes. Codes that lie behind the reality you live in, and perhaps, without realizing it, you've been trying to decipher them for years. Here, each case is a key, a clue, a mirror of what you may also be experiencing. Today, what you will hear seems impossible. But when you understand the universal laws, the impossible becomes just misunderstood. Have you ever been called crazy just because you felt something no one saw? What if your silence is the language the universe understands best? She decided to stop explaining, stop justifying. She was silent on the outside, and the universe spoke for her. Have you ever felt like you're always trying to fix it, explain it, make it work, but all you get in return is more tiredness? This was exactly the reality of Emma Walker, a 34-year-old administrative assistant from Ohio. The type of person that everyone saw as too strong, too resilient, too good. But inside, she carried a silent storm. Emma was the kind of woman who did everything right. He arrived at work early. He helped everyone. He cared about others before even thinking about himself. But there was a pain that repeated itself like clockwork inside her. Nothing ever flowed smoothly. It was as if life always demanded more of her than she could give. Relationships, always with men who said they loved them, but disappeared when she needed them most. Friendships, most drained his energy. And what about work? An endless cycle of effort without recognition. She asked herself in silence, why does everything seem so heavy to me? She had already tried everything. Therapy, prayers, self-knowledge courses. But the feeling was always the same. The more she sought to change reality, the more trapped in it she felt. It was as if there was an invisible wall between her and the life she wanted to live. The climax came on a grey Tuesday, when she received the news that she would not be promoted again. The reason? You're too good in your current role. We can't lose you in it. That hurt more than she expected, because it was there that she realized that, perhaps, the universe was just responding to what she herself vibrated. And it was in that silence, in that deep tiredness, that something changed. She stopped. He stopped chasing. She stopped trying to be understood, to explain. He even stopped fighting his own loneliness. And in that empty space, something started to happen, but no one noticed right away. Reality, little by little, began to double. Have you ever felt this too? That the more force you exert, the more distant everything seems? If so, comment below. I'm tired of trying too. And stay with me until the end of this video, because what happened to Emma could be exactly what's happening to you now, just invisibly. If this has touched you this far, leave a like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. You will understand why. Emma didn't tell anyone, but that night, after hearing yet another, "You're too good where you are," she didn't cry. She just sat on the sofa in the living room, staring into space. It was as if something inside her had broken, or maybe it had finally broken free. For the first time, she didn't react, didn't try to understand, didn't run to her diary, or do an affirmation exercise. It just fell silent. It was a different silence. Not out of despair, but of surrender. Not the kind that gives up on life, but the kind that stops fighting with it. Over the next few days, Emma began to do something that seemed small. She avoided justifying her choices. When they asked why she wasn't going out as much anymore, she just smiled. When her ex sent messages trying to start a conversation, she read them and didn't respond. Something had changed, but no one saw it from the outside. It was all internal, and even without explanations, the universe seemed to understand. It was then that subtle things started to happen. First, the cell phone that had been broken for weeks mysteriously started working again after being restarted, something that technicians said was impossible. Then, the manager from another sector, with whom she barely spoke, asked her to participate in a special project, without her having signed up. "I thought of you suddenly," he said. Emma felt a shiver. It wasn't a coincidence. It was as if something was being rearranged. At home, the air felt different, lighter. The small, stuffy apartment where she had lived for 5 years began to feel bigger. She realized that when she stopped complaining, stopping resisting, something in her frequency began to change. Neighbors who previously barely greeted each other now struck up a conversation. A man at the reception, who had never said much, handed him a spiritual book, saying, "I felt it was for you." Emma accepted silently. It was the third, unexpected gift in 2 weeks. The most surprising thing, however, was the dream. One silent dawn, she found herself in a wide field, with a sky full of stars. A long-haired woman, who seemed to be made of light, looked into his eyes and said, "What you want already exists, but you need to stop shouting to hear it." Emma woke up with her heart racing. It was no ordinary dream. It had smell, sound, sensation. It was real, or more real than everything she had been experiencing. From then on, she began to notice patterns that she had previously ignored. People disappeared from her life without her having to step away. Others, completely new, came up with words and gestures that seemed like answers to questions she didn't even know she was asking. The silence she had chosen seemed to have turned into a language, one that the universe ends, one understood. And you? Have you ever felt like something just started to happen? Happen when you stopped insisting? Maybe this silence that surrounds you now is not empty. Maybe this is just the beginning of the change. And in the next section, you will understand why, when Emma stopped chasing, it was reality that started chasing her. And you? Have you ever experienced this kind of silence? One that is not the absence of sound, but a choice, a limit, an internal scream that says, "I'm tired of explaining myself." Maybe you've also reached that point. That moment when you realize that life, the way it is no longer possible. But the scariest thing is when you start to doubt yourself. Not because your heart is wrong, but because the whole world has convinced you of it. How many times have you felt like you needed to reduce your own intensity just to fit into the space that the other person left? That you needed to hide your emotions, suffocate your dreams, swallow your tears, just to not bother? Emma did this all the time. And what she lived through was exactly what many of us also live through, a world that requires masks, who applauds those who shape themselves, who rejects those who feel too much. Maybe you see yourself in it now. Maybe you, too, have started to question everything. And it's not because you became a rebel. It's because something in you woke up. A silent restlessness that says, "I can't pretend anymore." And then comes the doubt. Am I crazy? Am I the one creating all this in my head? Because when no one else validates what you feel, the natural thing is to start canceling yourself out. But what if I told you that this discomfort you feel is the first sign that your vibration is changing? That this discomfort, this lack of fit, is not a defect. It is a symptom of expansion? Emma didn't realize it right away, but every rejection she experienced, every no she received, every relationship that fell apart, was a sign. She wasn't being punished. It was being relocated. But the universe doesn't use traffic signs. It uses vibration. He uses sensation. He uses silence. And here may be between you. Because if you've been watching this far, it's no coincidence. There is something in you that is trying to remember what you already know, a knowledge that does not come from books or gurus, but from your own energy field. Have you ever felt like you are being guided, even though you don't understand the path? Have you ever experienced something that seemed too synchronic to be just a coincidence? Perhaps you are at a time in your life where everything seems stagnant. Things don't move forward, plans don't work, people move away. But what if all this is just a sign that you need to stop and listen? Emma fell silent, not because she gave up, but because you finally understood that you didn't need to chase what was already yours on a regular basis. And perhaps, like her, you too are approaching that turning point. It's not about giving up on manifesting. It's about stopping forcing, because what is truly aligned with you requires no effort. He recognizes your energy, and when that happens, reality doubles. From now on, you'll discover what, exactly, was creating Emma's reality, and why everything began to change when she changed how she felt without saying a single word. This is where the law of vibration comes in. Everything, absolutely everything, is emitting a signal, including you, including Emma, including your silence. Because it doesn't matter what you say, what the universe picks up is what you feel. And that's when it all starts to make sense. What changed in Emma's life wasn't the environment, it wasn't the job, or the people around her. What changed was her vibrational field. And when the field changes, reality reacts. For years, Emma tried to convince reality to change. I tried to explain that I deserved more. I tried to force doors to open. But her vibration said something else. It said, I am not enough. He said, I have to work really hard to deserve it. He said, I need others to validate me. And reality, like a perfect vibrational mirror, obeyed. It showed exactly that back. Until the day she fell silent. When she stopped trying, stopped begging for attention, stopped chasing, she stopped vibrating neediness. Presence began to vibrate, and the universe listened. The law of vibration does not respond to your superficial desire. It responds to your deep frequency, and the highest frequency that anyone can emit is the one that comes from delivery, not from resignation, but from silent confidence that what is yours will find you. And that's what Emma began to do without realizing it. By stopping trying to control reality, she aligned herself with the part of her that knew. The part one always knew. The soul. But it doesn't stop there. The law of polarity was also at work. What seemed like rejection, that project denied, that friendship lost, that love that left, was not punishment. It was protection. Because while she vibrated at a frequency of effort, everything that came to her was compatible with effort. But when the frequency changed, things that once felt like losses began to reveal themselves as releases. What left? Left because it no longer resonated with who she was becoming. And then the law of mentalism comes in. It all starts in the mind. Not in the rational mind, but in the energetic mind. One who holds deep, often invisible beliefs. Emma, for years, believed that she needed to do a lot to be loved, that she needed to sacrifice herself to be noticed. And this silent belief created every detail of his life. The mind is the projector. Reality is the screen. And until she changed the internal film, the external scene would not change. But by silencing, she accessed a deeper layer of her own mind. A layer where there was no more noise. Where there was only pure intention. And that's why, suddenly, the invitations started to appear. Synchronicities increased. The answers came without her needing to ask. Because now, the universe was no longer listening to words. I was feeling vibration. And her vibration said, I trust. And when that vibration is real, it is continuous, it is sustained, reality bends. Have you ever felt this too? That the more you align with how you feel, the more things flow. Perhaps you too are being called to silence, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because sometimes, the absence of noise is what allows you to hear the true answer. Now, you will understand what made Emma's reality double for good. And the exact moment everything changed. Emma was not rewarded for the silence itself. Silence is not a bargaining chip. He is a portal. A space where vibration reveals itself. And that's what changed everything. Because what happened to Emma wasn't magical. It was congruent. Life only returned what it finally began to emit authentically. When she fell silent on the outside, something inside her began to speak louder. And it wasn't a mental, anxious, desperate voice. It was a clean vibe. Clara. Coherent. For the first time, what she felt, what she believed, and what she allowed, were in the same place. This is the point that many people don't understand. Emma was not rewarded because she got nice, or because she was patient enough. She didn't wait like someone suffering in silence, wishing for something to change. She reconnected with something that had been inside her the whole time, and that could only emerge when the noise stopped. And it was in this state that the real miracle happened. One day, she woke up with the feeling that something important was going to happen. And unlike other times, he didn't try to control, he didn't create expectations. Just felt it. And he lived the day as if everything had already been resolved. That afternoon, he received a call from an unknown number. It was from a company she had sent a resume to years ago, and didn't even remember. Your name came up in an internal filter we used for a new project. Are you available to talk? The most curious thing? It was exactly in the area that she had envisioned working, but had given up pursuing because she thought she wasn't good enough. The place, the environment, the people. Everything seemed to fit. Everything looked like her. And it wasn't because she had forced it. It was because, now finally, she was that. This is the turning point. The universe does not respond to your effort. It responds to your essence. And Emma only became compatible with this new reality when she stopped dividing herself between what she felt and what she showed. When she stopped trying to be understood, she started to be seen. Because there is a big difference between being heard and being noticed. The world only started to see her when she stopped hiding behind justifications. And what seemed like loneliness was actually purification. The removal of people, projects, old desires. All of this was space being created. A vibrational detox, where the new could only arrive if the old no longer took up space. Emma understood, in the silence, that she didn't need to change the world by force. I needed to change the field she emanated. And when he did that, everything that was once a block became a portal. Everything that was absence became direction. And everything that seemed like failure was just redirection. Because sometimes, the universe waits for you to disconnect from everyone, to finally connect with it. And at that moment, at the exact moment she decided to trust without requiring signs, it was reality that bowed to her frequency. If at any point in this video you felt like you were listening to your own story, comment below with the word reunion. This shows that you are returning to your essence, and the universe responds when you declare yourself energetically. If this message touched something inside you, leave a like right now and subscribe to the channel. This isn't just about supporting the content, it's about continuing to receive exactly what your soul is ready to hear. And in the next episode, you will learn about the case of a woman who seemed to be losing everything. But what no one knew was that, in silence, she had made a deal with the universe. And this agreement changed every detail of your reality.